Take it away, Oz. You know it.
I'm keeping my composure.
Ooh. Man, we just had an experience, didn't we?
Is that what you call that?
We had an experience.
Oh, man. Like, my whole body hurts.
You know, often when somebody goes through like an emotional experience, like the first time that some people saw like Titanic, or the first time that you see like Infinity War, and Thanos wins and you leave the theater, you just don't know how to feel. Howard the Duck is that caliber of movie where you know what, I'm going to put a pause on this right now about the spectacle and the experience that is Howard the Duck. And I want to ask you something else, like putting this movie aside, how you doing? How are things with you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
you good?
Good. Mm-hmm.
Because it really seems like something's bothering you. And that's one reason why I'm glad I had you over, not anyone else, but you over to watch this incredible piece of cinema history with me. I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone else but you.
That was a very interesting choice of words that you put together there, sir.
Yeah, I thought that this movie would maybe just better your day, But there is something to be said, and that is like for this cold open, Oz, I just kind of want to talk a little bit, riff a little bit about like calibers of movies, because there's movies that are not for me, meaning that I recognize that there is joy to be found and that a lot of people enjoy these movies, but I don't. The one I've mentioned most is probably Thor Ragnarok. I understand why people like it. It's just not for me. It doesn't appeal to me. But then there's movies that I think are just bad. And in terms of what we usually talk about, that would be like Captain Marvel or The Eternals. I think that those movies are just bad. Like no real redeemable qualities there in terms of characters, acting, stories. But even with bad movies, you can look at some of that and be like, but you know what? It has something to it. And at least it can hit an area where it's so bad that, I won't say so bad it's good, but so bad that I have something to say about it. Mm-hmm. But then there are movies that are so bad that they're good. And man, I know that I've seen quite a few of those, but I'm having a hard time thinking of some off the top of my head. I know that you probably have like a caveat, like a laundry list of movies that you've seen that are so bad they're good.
I mean, yeah, I've got a few.
Yeah.
I mean, a movie I still watch to this day after the first time I've seen it was Knights of Badassdom. It is cheesy as shit.
Kind of sounds it.
Yeah, it's very much. It's a LARPing movie that turns in like someone actually summons a demon and they kill everyone. Spoilers, by the way. It's an old movie, older, but I love it. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those movies that it's so cheesy and bad and very inaccurate, but I like it.
Yeah.
That's just the one that pops into my head right now.
I did think of one for me. It would be the Halle Berry Catwoman movie. That is so bad, but I have a blast watching it.
Really?
Like I enjoy it for all the reasons that the movie doesn't intend for me to enjoy it for.
Huh.
And maybe enjoy is the wrong word, but
okay.
It amuses me.
Okay, like a Sharknado kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like that for me because like
Snakes on a plane.
Snakes on a plane. Yeah,
yeah,
it's that kind of movie for me. Where like the CG is god awful, even for 2004 or whenever it came out. Like it's bad. Mm-hmm. The story somehow is even worse.
Yep, it's very bad.
There's moments
evil makeup company. Got it.
Evil makeup. That's the plot.
Evil makeup.
The makeup is evil. They go with the all new Catwoman, and it's Catwoman in name only if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They go with a new character, Patience something.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I remember that much of her name.
Yeah.
And but I mean, one thing about the movie that is genuinely enjoyable is Halle Berry and Latex. So
I mean, you're right though.
yeah. So you always
Until she puts the damn the mask on her head,
That's
then it loses it for me.
it does, yeah. But that's an example for me of a movie that's so bad, but I still find joy in it because it's just so bad. It makes me laugh how bad it is. So there are calibers of like bad movies,
Yeah.
but this what we're about to discuss here, we've had some commentary here, and I want to say this also. I contemplated doing like a live watching recording of Howard the Duck.
I am so thankful you didn't.
Me too. I considered it. I mean, seriously, homies. I thought about it long and hard. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have Oz and I sit down and we're gonna turn on the microphones and we're gonna watch the movie and just commentate throughout. And the only reason I didn't is because the times that we've done it in the past, I've realized that live commentary for movies, at least for me, they only work if you've already seen the movie. If you've seen the movie before and you know what's coming, and especially if the people who are listening have seen the movie most likely, that's the way that it works the best because you know what's going to happen. You're not worried about missing dialogue or anything. You already know. And so that is the only reason.
Well, with this movie, missing the dialogue would have been a good thing.
Oh,
I am stifling my emotions right now, sir.
It looks like I just thought you had indigestion. Like, and I thought that, oh man, this movie got Oz. It was just so good, so gripping that he's having a hard time processing his emotions, and so I was just giving you some time.
That is not an accurate statement. It's just not a good processing.
But also, before we kick this thing off proper, I do want to say that you were out of town for a couple of days this previous weekend, right, for SavannahCon?
Savannah and Amazing Con.
Savannah and Amazing Con. That's a mouthful of a name.
It really is.
Yeah. And what kind of con was that exactly? Like what?
It was primarily an anime con.
Yeah.
They had a whole bunch of voice actors from some. I think it was one was Attack on Titan. Some was One Piece. They had the voice of Nappa.
Oh, nice.
From so that was really cool. I actually sat in on the panel for them, and because like I like listening to voice actors. That would be a dream job for me, like being a voice actor. So I definitely sat in for that. It was actually pretty cool, like to see how they got into the business and stuff like that. And
right.
It was, like I said, it was mostly anime, but like they had a hell of a vendor hall. Like it was very nice. And like I got most of my people, presents and stuff.
You did, myself included.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. You got me like 6 issues of a comic book here called Calico, or actually technically it's called Here Comes Calico. Calico's the name of the superhero here. And yeah, I definitely need to go ahead and read these and kind of give a kind of like a review or like just my thoughts about this book.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't know if it's any good or not at all. Like, it's a complete local.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a local artist, but it was definitely a small.
Yeah.
This is like their first comic book, and it was the guy was pitching it to me, and like he was telling me how like this superhero is very brutal, very violent. And he's very like Punisher meets the Black Panther kind of feel,
right?
And he like goes after corporations that abuse animals quite often.
Yeah, and
like matter of fact, a lot of the proceeds from the purchase of these books actually went to animal shelters to help abuse animals. So I was like, you know what? Yes. I have to get this, and of course, like this has become a trend for me. It has. Every time I go to a con, I always end up getting a small town or small time comic book That is because I know you don't have that,
Right?
because like
that's actually very smart.
right, like because like you have so many. I don't know what you have, what you don't. So I'm like, okay, I know for a fact he doesn't have this because it's new.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that you do that because, like, I mean, and also I love even through proxy supporting like small independent comic book company or people who are making comic books themselves. Just because like I think that first of all that's awesome and it's great to have other mediums out there than the big two and then the smaller but still big time companies.
Right? Yeah.
So your Marvel, DC, Image, Star Wars, Boom, Dynamite, IDW, all those guys. And so it's great to see like other, more independent companies out here putting out comic books. So I really dig that. But also before we get started, one more thing I want to talk about is Tavern Notice Board.
Oh yes.
And you took a couple weeks sabbatical.
Yeah, because we had to get prepped for this con because my wife was a vendor, and so there was a lot of like not being able to organize things and like constant busy schedule. So and of course the whole weekend I couldn't do any recording or anything like that. So I plan on picking up next week really hard and heavy. I plan on doing the review for episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12 of Legends of Vox Machina, that review. My guest will be Kay for that, my wife. And then I plan on having our good friend Dylan on next Sunday for a regularly scheduled Tavern Notice Board. He hasn't given me a topic he wants to talk about yet, but it's going to be really awesome, I think.
Nice. And then, of course, in is it March or
March 31st?
This man already knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, we're going to be reviewing the Dungeons and Dragons movie that's coming out, Honor Among Thieves.
Yes.
I am super fucking hyped for this movie. Like, I know it's probably going to have a lot of crap that people are going to hate and stuff like that. But like, I'm notorious for liking bad movies. I don't think this is going to be one of them, personally. It's basically based off the trailers, and of course the cast they got I think is fucking great. But I will say that all of my friends are getting together, and I would like to invite you to come with us on this.
I feel kind of hurt now.
Well, the reason why, like, we're all dressing up in garb. We're going in full nerd, like LARP gear, and going to see this movie.
You fucking nerds! You just can't wear a shirt with a D20 on it. You gotta nerd all the way out.
Duh. I mean, dude, I would love to have you in garb coming with us. I want that. I want it so bad.
Gosh.
Because if you show up with us and wearing just a D&D t-shirt, which I don't even think you own one.
I can get one.
I'm just saying, if you show up and wearing nothing but a D&D t-shirt, you're going to be the weirdo not dressed up.
Oh, I'm going to be God damn. One interesting thing that I'm really looking forward to hearing about your review on this D&D movie. One thing that I don't think that you have a problem with at all because you like bad movies. I think this movie is going to be really good, by the way.
I think so too, yeah.
But it's going to be interesting seeing you in a position where you have to kind of build the bridge. This is something that I've had to do here. Caleb has had to do as well, and that is where you like, for example, with a superhero comic book based movie, right? Like, I have to be able to give up certain quote unquote liberties that they're gonna have to take with these movies. And then I have to kind of draw the line between, okay, where are they taking liberties because this is something that they logistically need to do to make this into a movie versus a change that they make just because they think it'll be more palatable for people who don't know about superheroes.
I gotcha.
And to varying degrees, you can probably attest to this, that they've had to do it maybe with some Star Wars projects in the past.
Yep.
But I think that with this Dungeons and Dragons movies, they're gonna have to do it also because if only the D&D nerds turn out, then don't get me wrong, if it's tailored just for the D&D nerds and nothing else, we'll love it.
Oh yeah.
But the niche fan base is never where the money is. The money is always in and like, you know, the kids or the families who thinks that this looks fun.
Right.
And so the whole family churns out, even if they don't really understand the subject matter. The trailer looks fun, it looks family friendly, and it looks like a good time for everybody.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you going to be able to be like, that's not how it works in D&D? And
well, I mean, I will probably definitely talk about that. Like, you know, this is the differences between the two. However, like, I've always been kind of an advocate for seeing a new person's take on something that already exists. Like, part of the reason why I like a lot of the superhero movies that you and Kevin and Caleb don't really care for so much is because
you have bad taste, but we've talked about that.
That's fair. But is that because I have no issues with some certain liberties being taken, and also I'm not as dedicated to superheroes as you guys are. But with Dungeons and Dragons, the wonderful thing about Dungeons and Dragons is taking liberties with the source material. I do it constantly in my D&D games. So more than likely, the way I'll viewpoint it is like, this DM changed stuff, and I'm cool with it.
Right. and that's a fair way to look at it, I think. Well, I forget. I know you've said this to me before, but what did you think about the D&D movie that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s?
I remember as a kid thinking it was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Like, as a kid.
Yeah.
I tried to go back and watch it. I got very similar feelings to Howard the Duck. Nowhere near as bad. But, like, I was a little perturbed that they super downplayed one of the most iconic D&D monsters and made it like a henchman.
See, and that's the shit I'm talking about. Like, your ability to be able to suppress those feelings.
But in Dungeons and Dragons, they already have those, though. They didn't have to take away. What I'm referring to is the beholder.
Right.
There is a roaming beholder. For one, it's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Which they make smaller beholders. You and I talked about this on my podcast.
Right.
But they didn't have to make it an actual beholder. They could have made it a spectator or a gazer or any of those. But they used an actual beholder.
Yeah.
And
but see, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that's the shit I was talking about. Because to the people who don't know anything about D&D, to them, it's a cool floating eyeball creature.
And again, I agree.
That's that. But, for you, someone who knows it so intimately, no, that's a beholder. And so I always love it when people of different fandoms understand the vitriol sometimes that I speak with when it comes to these superhero movies, because it can easily look like I'm overreacting to something that is a small detail, but I'm like, no, motherfuckers, let me tell you, like, the Grand Master wouldn't be fucking Jeff Goldblum making jokes in Ragnarok. He would be like... but,
I will give it this, like, from the trailers that I've already seen, they have already done the monsters justice. Like, you see a black dragon and you actually see him spitting acid, which is already book accurate, which I'm already happy with. You see the mimic come to life, which is freaking awesome. So I think that's going to be amazing. So I don't think they're going to do any of those things. I know they've already kind of did it, and the internet blew the fuck up about it.
About the owlbear.
The owlbear situation. I don't give a shit. As a DM, I would allow my druid to do that. I don't give a fuck. Owlbears are cool, man.
So one more thing about the D&D movie, and then we'll finally start this review here. But what is something like a surprise that you hope to see in the movie? It won't make or break the movie for you, but something that you would really love to see.
Honestly, I would like to see kind of how Legends of Vox Machina has kind of done a little bit. And that is actually kind of having an on-screen representation of passing or failing a check.
Yes.
I really want to see that in the live-action film. I think it would be great.
That would be. Yeah. That'd be... I hope they can do that, and I think they can.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, one more thing. You definitely have to have the sitting around a table way too much planning something. Matter of fact, our table today was very much very sitting around a table planning our next move.
Right.
Yeah, I want that in the movie, definitely.
Hell yeah. And there's so many like winks and nod and inside jokes they could do. And if they do it right, I think it would make everybody laugh. People who know D&D and people who are just going for a fun action flick, you know. But yeah, with that being said, homies one and all, welcome back to another very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and today I'm here with my good friend, the homie Oz.
Yo, what's going on, dudes? I'm sorry, I had to do my Kevin impression.
Kevin would be more like, what would Kevin be like?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how you doing out there? Yeah. How you doing, man?
How you doing?
Oh,
we love you, Kevin.
Yeah, love you, bud. But yeah, guys, so as you can probably tell by the description of this episode title, we are here talking about the legendary, the infamous, the one and only Howard the Duck movie. Yeah, this has been a movie that's been on my radar for quite some time here. I realized something about myself, or something that I want to do, and that is this year I wanted to talk more about not just the good, but like the really, really bad stuff. And so there's even like
we did it,
and we found it. And man, there's even like a few really, really bad comics that I want to talk about this year. I'm gonna have to have you read one of those and talk to me about them.
Okay, fair enough.
I can only make Caleb read so many of these before he just quits on me. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. But you know, I figured for me to start this thing off right, I had to find like a movie that is just notoriously known for being atrocious. And I think I found the perfect one, man. Like this Howard the Duck movie. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Howard the Duck, I mean, he's still... What's that?
Keep it that way.
Keep it that and this, I think, is the innate problem with really shitty movies that have source material, is that people are so willing to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like Howard, he's still obscure. But if you read his comics, they're not bad books at all. I was actually going through like the Wikipedia here, looking at Howard to see who created him, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that like the description they have for Howard the Duck is kind of the same way I took away from the comic books I've read about Howard, and that is like they described it as social satire, and I think I used that same verbiage to you just earlier.
Yeah. When we first started,
yeah, and. You know, just reading here from the Wikipedia page, they say that Howard's adventures are generally social satires, while a few are parodies of genre fiction with a metaphysical awareness of the medium. The book is existentialist, and its main joke, according to its creator, is that there is no joke. That life's most serious moments and most incredibly dumb moments are often distinguishable only by a momentary point of view.
That's actually really deep.
It is very deep. It's very Joker-esque if you think about it.
Right? Yeah.
And then he goes on to say, Gloria Katz, producer of the notorious ill-fated 1986 movie, expressed a diametrically opposed opinion of the character. A quote from her says, "It's a film about a duck from outer space. It's not supposed to be an existential experience," end quote. She succeeded in the goal that she set out, I guess. But
you cannot sit here and tell me there was a goal for that movie whatsoever.
That is a good point, actually.
That is like, there was...
Yeah. I have to give a shout out real quick to the actual creator of the character. His name is Steve Gerber, and he was drawn by Val Myrick. So those are the two creators. Back in Adventure into Fear issue 19, most of what I read from Howard the Duck is written by Chip Zdarsky, a very fantastic comic book writer, in my opinion. But let's look here a little bit more at this movie here, because I'm very curious to see like the critical and commercial reception of this character, and you know, I also would like to see more about like what went on behind the scenes here. Because there's no way that this was this is what they had in mind here.
Like, I would like to think that, but there could have just been some person who thought this would be a good thing to make.
So if they, and this is like, this literally is superhero homies rule number one, which is character integrity, but it also implies the story integrity as well. And that is, if you're going to adapt something, we don't expect you to do page for page, panel for panel. No one really wants that unless you're doing a very specific stylized story.
Right.
But you do have to adhere to the nature of the story and try to keep that spirit in your adaptation.
Like, to be perfectly honest, the first, I think, 2 minutes of the movie, I felt like we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you got the very vibe of, like, the, very Dick Tracy, freaking detective story.
Right.
And then he gets sucked through a wormhole. And everything goes to shit.
Almost immediately, right? Like, to the point where I almost wish we could have just seen more of his adventures on Duck World,
That's the name of his planet?
Yeah.
Duck World.
Hey.
They couldn't have at least given it a name.
Don't ask too much of this, all right? This is Human World, where we're on, okay? And Howard is from Duck World.
But it has a name. It's Earth. Duck World needs a name.
Well, maybe something here to help you feel a little bit better here, as this film was directed by a man by the name of Willard Huyck. Huyck?
Huyck?
Huyck. How would you pronounce that?
I'm going to go with the way you said it, Huyck, because it's funnier. I don't know. Like
William H.
William H?
Yep. That's what I'm going to describe him as here.
Good old William H.
Yep.
Like, he directed this movie?
Yeah, he's the one. But here's the interesting thing about him here. Looking at him, his wife is Gloria Katz. She's the one who had that quote earlier, and she's also an executive producer on the Howard the Duck movie. Here's where things get interesting now. Mr. Huyck, he wrote screenplays for movies like American Graffiti, Lucky Lady, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and Radioland Murders.
That actually makes sense for the slight cameo of Yeah,
it kind of starts to make sense there.
A little bit.
And it says he also directed 4 films that he co-wrote with Gloria, his wife. And one of those movies is Howard the Duck.
They wrote this movie.
They
They thought it made sense.
They thought it made sense.
Enough to make it a movie.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So let's kind of see how much this movie cost versus how much it made. Interesting. Okay. So they don't exactly know how much this movie cost. They said that the movie's budget was somewhere between $30 million and $37 million. Would you like to know what the box office was?
10,000.
The movie's box office was $38 million, which means that if the movie on the high end did cost $37 million, that
it still made a profit?
After everything was said and done, it still technically would have made a $1 million profit. Now, what all goes into that box office? Like, how long was this movie in theaters? I don't know. But yeah, technically, it would still be considered a bomb.
Yeah.
You know,
it would. But the fact that it made more.
It did, yeah. But you know what, though? I think that they did they probably used the what I call the Christopher Nolan technique. And that is, whenever Chris Nolan is associated with the movie, they lead with that in the trailers. And, George Lucas is a producer on this movie. He's one of 2. Gloria Katz is the other. Mm-hmm. And George Lucas is a producer as well.
I said this when we were watching it. This hurts my soul.
Yeah.
Like the fabric of who I am. It's almost like a part of me died today. Knowing that an idol of mine, George Lucas, created one of the greatest space franchises ever was
Yeah.
a part of this in any way hurts me.
I get it. I do. And it's surprising, to say the least, that George Lucas is associated with a movie like this. Because, like, to me, in no way does it really feel like a George Lucas movie. Because, like, when I think about, like, George Lucas, I don't know. I either think about, Star Wars or, like, his association with Steven Spielberg. And, like, all of those are, like, at the very least, really good, fun movies. What we got here with Howard the Duck is not. I was just looking here again at like the Wikipedia here upon what it had to say about this movie. And it says, upon its release, the film was a critical and commercial failure and was criticized for its humor, performances, inconsistent tone, and appearance of the titular character. Though the effects and soundtrack were mostly praised. Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Mm-hmm. You said the effects and the soundtrack were praised? Did they watch the same movie we just watched?
They probably had to trip balls on acid to make it through this movie. And
I feel like we should have been.
We should have been.
Matter of fact, we took a shot and drank a drink to
did.
get through that movie.
Just to get through the movie. Homies, a real fun fact for you guys about our viewing experience with this movie. We paused the movie about like an hour or so into, about maybe an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, only to realize we had only been watching the movie for 27 minutes.
And that's why we're like, do you have any alcohol?
Yeah. This movie is, what is it, an hour and 51 minutes? But it felt like a 3.5 hour marathon.
Right? Like, I felt like I just watched one of the director's cuts of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, well, I enjoy those movies, but like that's how long it felt.
That's how long it felt, yeah. I was like, I feel like I watched the Snyder cut of the Justice League.
Right?
Without any of the good shit.
Any of the good shit.
That's how this movie felt. And then I could never, and I mean never, watch this movie by myself. I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
And for those of you who have, you are very strong-willed individuals.
Yeah. So I tell you what, homies, because we want to save you guys the trouble of watching this. I don't recommend anyone watch this movie.
No. like I've gone on record multiple times on this show saying I like bad movies a lot of times. I get that, and I'm cool with it. I'm telling you, homies, do not watch this movie.
Don't do it.
No, please don't.
But Oz and I, we took the bullet for you guys. And so we'll do you the favor.
I feel like I took like 5 bullets.
We're bullet riddled right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like we have been tagged up with bullets. Rat-a-tat-tat.
Like I feel like I should pour like water down my throat and like it comes out of like the bullet holes.
Yes.
That would have been a joke in this movie, I think.
It would have been. Surprised they didn't go with that. This movie veers between slapstick and oddly raunchy. I thought the movie was rated R.
Like, yeah, especially in the first 10 minutes, like 5-10 minutes of the movie, you see.
Full spoilers, by the way.
Full spoilers.
Yeah.
You see duck titties.
He's not. He ain't lying. He is not lying. Yeah, literally within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you see full frontal,
Duck
fully
titties.
feathered duck titties. This movie's PG, meaning that if you're an unsuspecting parent, you're like, okay, I can take my kid in here. We'll watch this.
While I understand this was during the day and age of Jim Henson, I don't think Jim Henson would ever do anything like that.
No, there's no way. There is no way.
I mean, he's come up with some crazy things, like, the Skeksis, the, all the goblins from the Labyrinth. Not once did I see a duck titty.
Not one single solitary duck titty was ever shown. So let's kind of talk here a little bit about the plot that we get here in this movie, because we
What plot?
You know what? Let me rewind that. So, Oz, let's talk a little bit about what happens in this movie.
Okay. The events that occur.
Yes. So,
like, half the time I can't even look at you straight when we're talking about this fucking movie, man.
So, Howard is coming home from work, which apparently he ends up being what, an advertisement agent or something like that.
Yeah, some really, mundane job.
Yeah.
Nothing against that job, just like, okay, whatever.
Not what I expected from Howard. I thought that they were going to go the detective route.
Especially the way the movie opens. It's got like that smooth jazz. You get to see all the old school like movie posters on the wall. Very like Private Eye style walk-in.
But no, he goes into his apartment and he looks like he's had a long day at work, and he's sitting down, and then, I mean, I can't fault the movie too much for this, because back in the OG comics, something similar did happen. This man is sucked through like a wormhole, like a portal, and he's taken from his home world, and he lands...
Duck World.
I'm sorry. He's taken from Duck World, and he lands on planet Earth.
Like, keep in mind, when he says suck through a wormhole, it is not like, oh, he happened to hop in a spaceship and then get sucked in. No. He is sitting in his fucking chair, smoking a cigar, and then gets beamed through a house, like the rest of the apartment building.
Yeah.
Into space.
Sucked right in. Yeah, he is hurled through the vacuum of space. Okay. And
screaming the whole time.
It's screaming the entire way in the vacuum of space. So apparently, like the tagline on the original Alien poster is not true. People can hear you scream in space.
Howard proved it.
And then he lands in, what's the name of the city? I think it was called Hunger City.
No, I thought it was Cleveland.
They
make a joke about it.
Do they? Oh, okay. Because I knew that they were in Ohio. But I thought at first they said it was like a place called Hunger City, but maybe that was just in the song. Oh, it was just in the song that Beverly was singing. That's what I heard.
Right.
Okay, Cleveland.
Because they make a whole joke about like when he first gets there and meets Beverly.
Yeah.
Like, where am I?
Oh, you're right. Cleveland. Yeah.
And he's like, Cleveland.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I hate that I'm right.
Yeah.
That means something stuck in my brain.
And you know what? Maybe I should just make my enemies watch this movie. I don't know. But
honestly, I don't think I would wish this movie on my worst enemies.
So, yeah, Howard lands in like this alleyway, and there's these typical, almost George Schumacher-esque goons that are assaulting this lady.
Like, really over the top, like warrior style, like the movie Warriors style.
Right? Punk. It really is like Warriors. I said Joe Schumacher earlier, but I think Warriors is more accurate. where it's like they just seem so over the top, but also so non-threatening at the same time.
Right? Like, we commented on this multiple times during this movie. When Howard pops the fuck up out of the trash can, these goons don't fucking bat an eye. They just start picking him up and taking him away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they just like, oh, yeah, let's kidnap him. And so they just take this random duck man. But yeah, then eventually, like, we get the first of many chase sequences in this godforsaken movie.
There were so many chase sequences.
There were, yeah.
Like, very unnecessarily so.
This movie, you're not going to believe this, Oz, but this movie is highly inconsistent.
What? No.
So in one moment they say that he knows quack fu and he acts big and bad like he is the man in charge, and then there's moments where he's running like a bitch from like a similar style threat.
Yeah.
And the first,
or kicking doors down,
right? Yeah, kicking doors down with a spinning back kick, like he's fucking George St. Pierre. Like, yeah, he's just a fucking badass, I guess, or he's not, depending on what the plot needs him to do.
Is this a Mary Sue?
Well, no, because a Mary Sue, well, he would technically be what they call him, a Gary Stew, but a Gary Stew would be perfect in every scenario. Howard is not. But eventually he gets away from like biker gang number one through shenanigans and through plot devices, and he ends up in a trash can. And this is where we meet Beverly.
Well, hold up. Yep. Like what I remember is that these goons had picked him up originally.
Yep.
Took him into a nightclub.
Yep.
And pawned him off on the doorman so they could get in.
That's right.
And then they tossed him in a trash can.
Well, no, because remember, there's a scene where he got chased by them. He grabs onto like this hook and kind of pulls himself.
No, that was after they threw him out.
Oh, okay. So,
and he got chased by some bikers.
Yeah, then he got chased by some random bikers.
Wait a minute, hold on. What was it? Satan Sluts?
Satan Sluts. Yeah. That was the name of them.
That was the name of them?
Yeah.
Satan Sluts. All right.
Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ, this movie.
Then he somehow knows how to use a crane.
Yep.
And gets away from these bikers, and then the crane breaks from his way. I work with cranes
right
every day.
What was that crane lifting?
Howard.
Well, because apparently the crane can't sustain Howard's massive weight.
Oh, so bad.
But eventually we are introduced to the character of Beverly, and you and I both notice like the same inconsistency here with Beverly here, and that is she is being accosted and assaulted by these fucking weirdo goons, but she's screaming for help as she's
punching them in the face.
She is whooping their ass, and she's the one calling for help.
And it's not done ironically either.
It's not.
Like I've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer do that. It wasn't done that way. It was very much she was legitimately calling for help as she's mounted a dude, punching him in the face. I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's to the point where I'm like, I know that they want Howard to come in and save the day here, but I'm like, you're not needed here, man.
No, you're not. Yeah. She handled that perfectly.
Yeah, I'm like, she lives here. Also, homies who live in Cleveland and who are maybe a little bit older than us, there's no way that Cleveland was like this in the goddamn 80s, right?
Like punk bands and garages and stuff with behind steel cages? No?
Yeah, come on. There's just no way. We'll talk about this movie's many influences later, from Ghostbusters to
Lord,
it was the heavy Ghostbusters influence.
Heavy Ghostbusters.
Right? What else was there?
I got some other vibes from it, but they weren't like influences because those movies that I got vibes from are way later.
There's a little bit of Back to the Future in here.
A little bit of Back to the Future, especially with the end, yeah.
And with the actress who plays Beverly, Leah Thompson.
Yeah. Phenomenal actress.
Oh, yeah. And also...
Poor choice in role for this movie.
Well, also Tim Robinson's in this movie.
Right? Tim Robinson. Oh, my God. Tim Robinson's in this movie. I'm over here like... I can't even, nothing he said stuck with me whatsoever.
I was like...
This man was in Shawshank
He was
Redemption.
in Shawshank. He's lucky that his career recovered from this, and that he was able to do Shawshank.
I guess what I'm, maybe Morgan Freeman was like, I like this kid.
Andy Dufresne was in a real shitty movie. He didn't think his career would survive.
That's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good. I'll have you narrate my life.
Oh shit! But after Howard helps Beverly,
this is the consistency we were talking about.
Yep.
Not only did he turned into a badass all of a sudden. He's an acrobat as well.
Oh, yeah.
He just started flipping all over the place and drop kicking dudes.
Right.
And then later we see him running like a little bitch from the same types of people.
Right. I don't know if I've said this yet or not, for those of you who maybe don't know, but yes, Howard the Duck is a Marvel Comics book character. You know, most of you have probably seen him in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He has an Easter egg in there. And he's voiced by Seth Green. And I'm like, wow, he looks really good here. He acts the way that you expect him to act. I wish they do something else with him now to wash the taste of this movie out of everyone's mind and memory.
I mentioned that earlier, and you were like, no.
You wanted to remake this movie.
Well, I mean, remake, yes. I think a remake. It would be a remake.
It would be, okay, that's like saying Batman Begins is a remake to Batman 89. It is not.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Reboot.
A reboot, yes. He does need a reboot.
Reboot, yeah. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And again, I think I even said this. I think I would really enjoy a Detective Duck.
Oh, yeah.
A Detective Space Duck? Fuck yes. I would love that.
Same. And keep the same vibes that the original creator had put into the book, which is like the existentialism of it all and like the social satire of it all. Because that part, when written real, really does work good. But yeah, so after Howard and Beverly beat the hell out of those goons, Beverly invites Howard back to her place. And yeah, so
immediate sexual tension, which made me feel very uncomfortable.
As it should. As it should. And again, like they don't play up their romance for humor until the very end of the movie, you know. But for like 97% of this movie, their romance is played straight.
Yep.
And it is very uncomfortable to watch.
I couldn't sit still during a lot of this movie. I was like rubbing my pants and just like, no. This is so uncomfortable to watch. Like I just felt uneasy.
Right.
And these scenes were a large part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they were a huge part of it. And then, you know, after, and again, another inconsistency here is how people react to Howard.
Homies, I wish you could just see my face when he said that. Like, I had like this like shocked and like appalled face all at the same time. I just couldn't help it. It was ridiculous how some people were like, "Oh my God, it's a talking duck," to it's a duck.
Oh, okay. It's a duck, man. What's up? What's your name?
How you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
so tell me about yourself, Howard. Like, it was just so fucking weird.
And then you have Tim Robbins' character who nuts the fuck up meeting the guy.
Tim Robbins, he's a phenomenal actor.
He is.
I hate him in this movie.
I don't believe it's him. Like, right. It looks like him.
Right.
But I don't think it's him. Like, I felt like it was like watching, you know, Nicolas Cage in some of his roles, just like over the top, like spasms and shit. Like,
zany,
why?
Yeah, for no real reason.
For no reason whatsoever.
Right.
Like, from the first time you really see his character, like, he runs into that boardroom to tell him about Howard, and like he realizes he's interrupted a very important meeting, and he's like, "Never mind." Then, slams the door shut. I'm like, really?
That's what we chose to go with here. Also, this movie's runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. They can easily cut 20 minutes out of this movie. They
could have easily cut an hour out of this movie.
Especially because, like, you got to think about it like this. For almost the first half of the movie, like, the main plot is, okay, we got to get Howard home. You know, he's not from here. He wants to go home.
Is that what you gathered from that?
I would at least say that's the goal.
The goal, yes.
Yeah.
Execution wise,
No.
Like it turned into Howard being like this weird love story that we were talking about, and him like they rushed it. Like I have no issues with love stories. I do with this one, because it's Howard the fucking duck and a human woman. It's just weird. Whatever. Okay, teach his own. However, it was almost like they've been dating for a while when he leaves her.
It's been like 2 days at most.
It's been 2 days. And he goes out and gets unemployment and gets a job at a spa, a very sexually clad spa.
Right. Yeah, that's where he gets a job at. And you and I talked about like the logistics behind that.
Like, he's an alien and a duck.
Uh-huh.
How does he have an ID? Unemployment at all, because he's never worked on this planet.
Proof of residency.
Like, I mean, you know what?
Like,
if the premise behind the movie is, hey, we're just gonna throw some shit in there, I would understand.
Okay,
but that wasn't the thing.
I would maybe be willing to give them a pass on all the logistics behind trying to get unemployment and how this movie lacked all of that. I'd be willing to forgive it if him having a job added to the story. It did
nothing. The only thing it may have added a little bit of is showing how hard it is for him to try to acclimate to this world compared to his home world.
But at the end of the day, it didn't mean anything, because like him and Beverly had like this fight after their one night of knowing each other, and then he storms off, tries to get unemployment and gets a job. Okay, works at the job for I guess a day, and then he ends up going back to Beverly.
But it made it feel like it had been months or something, and like he walks back up into this club because he sees the alleyway he fell in because he landed in a chair very much like his chair, and he looks over at the club where his quote unquote girlfriend is playing in a band, and so you just get this weird like I'm downtrodden and the only light is my girl feel from this, and I'm like, it makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And also, again, everything we've seen in this movie doesn't matter, because
like if you wanted to put it in like him trying to acclimate to this world, it could be done in a quick montage of like 5 minutes. If that, like show him walk into a room into a job and then they fire him. That's fine too. We can do that.
Yeah, you could do a montage and that would be funny, like people's reaction and what they do to seeing the fucking duck.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead, we got at least 10 minutes worth of him being in I want to say a brothel style spa.
Yeah.
And brothel style. This is supposed to be a PG movie?
Right. These people are fucking in these spa pools.
Right. And like, honestly, if you paused it at a certain moment, I guarantee you would have saw at least some junk swinging around. I guarantee you.
You could have probably got like an areola or like a nipple.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah. And also we didn't talk enough about Tim Robbins' character.
We did.
Filzy, as Howard calls him. But okay, Beverly says, okay, you need to get home, Howard. I know a scientist. And I guess and when she said that, I was like, so I guess she just.
So I guess we need to talk about Beverly's character just a little bit.
Okay,
on that. Like, she is this kind of up and coming musician in a band, which I mean, for '80s,
it's the '80s.
It's the '80s. It wasn't horrible music, sure, whatever, but it sounded like everything else.
Yeah,
everything else.
Yeah,
and so. Like, and she had like very. Like, that's what her job is, and she's living in this rundown apartment, and somehow this woman knows a scientist.
She just knows. We never get any explanation as to how her and Bill know each other.
Like, and again,
oh, you know what? You know what?
Make it work.
Maybe
if there's an explanation.
There's this. I hate to give this movie any kind of credit.
No,
but
I disagree.
They did say that Filzy was dating another member of the band.
That was later in the movie. Not in
that's true.
That was later in the movie.
Jesus, this godforsaken movie. But then come to find out, Filzy isn't a scientist. He's a lab assistant who has to do mostly janitorial work. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't help Howard at all.
No. Instead, we get a evolution lesson that we didn't need.
Yeah.
Of how he figured out how their world works, how Duck World works.
Because they also had like this convenient fucking graph, evolutionary chart.
So we've all seen the evolutionary chart of the apes evolving into men.
Right.
They had the same thing for ducks. Somehow already in their display.
And you know what? I believe that this is supposed to be part of the movie slapstick humor, but because the entire thing is so fucking ridiculous.
It's not even like I like slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like, Jim Carrey, Chris Farley, people like that. Those are great, However, I'm a Three Stooges fan.
Yeah.
This wasn't it.
No.
Whatsoever.
No.
Like, the only time we laughed at this movie was something that wasn't meant to be laughed at.
Well, yeah, we laughed at the movie, not with it.
Right.
Yeah. So they end up leaving Filzy the first time because he can't help them at all. He's no use to them. Mm-hmm. And this is when they get into that fight.
Yeah, they get into this fight. And, like, something right after the fight that like, keeps coming up occasionally, I don't know if you noticed this or not, was Howard has a tendency to raise his arms and go, "Wah!" and scare a group of kids away.
Right.
Or a group of people. I'm like, is that what?
Well, we're going to get to this in a little bit here, but there's a lot of snarling in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of snarling.
A lot of snarling. Homies, we haven't even gotten to the villain of this movie yet.
Which didn't show up until an hour and 23 minutes into the fucking movie.
By the time the villain shows up, it feels like we're about 5 minutes away from wrapping this thing up.
Yep.
But we're not.
Nope. Because I remember you paused it at this point. Like, I think we were like, all right, it's like, how much longer we got? This feels like it's end. It's like, we have another hour of this fucking movie? How? Like, it literally feels like it's about to end.
And maybe that was just us hoping it was about to end.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I do want to go ahead and point this out before I forget. You brought up a brilliant point during one moment here with the villain, who I promise we'll expound on later. But there was a moment where the villain was doing something villainous, siphoning energy, but the music they were playing was like the heroic fanfare music.
Like, I feel like I won a Final Fantasy VII fight. Like, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, and you were just like, they're playing the hero's music right now. Like, should we be rooting for this guy?
Like, I feel like Superman's about to land and, like, he just saved the day. Like, what?
Right. Oh, shit.
So bad.
But after Howard and Beverly get into this fight, Howard says he's going to do it on his own and find a way back home and get a job and this, that, and the third. That shit doesn't work out. And a needless use of 5 to 8 minutes of film time they could have cut. Mm-hmm. And we go back to the dive bar that night, and it's there where Beverly and her band, they have this sleazy manager who's making like a fucking Epstein level trade for Beverly. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, this guy
so cringe.
This guy slides Beverly's manager money. Okay, and says he all but implies, hey, I'm paying you this money so that I can have Beverly for sexual purposes.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Yeah.
And like, while I don't agree with putting characters like this in movies, if they gave us a hero that would actually kick the shit out of them legitimately, I would have been I can't even say okay with it, but at least I would have understood it.
Right.
They didn't.
This guy, his role and the manager's role was just to be dickwads.
Yep.
And to the point where I was like, why did Beverly keep this guy as a manager?
Well, it kind of gave the impression that he was like, he kind of owned them a little bit in a way. I don't know how.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
but there was no explanation of that.
None.
Like, this is the first time we even see the manager.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even talk about him earlier in the movie.
No.
Like, it's just this.
Well, this is also where the inconsistency comes back again, because Howard sits down at the bar like he's Billy Badass.
I mean, honestly, if he would have kicked their ass after this, I would have respected this scene a little bit more.
Yeah. He doesn't. Howard gets his ass whooped at first.
By Spanish Undertaker. Shout out, Caleb. How you doing?
Shout out to you, Caleb.
This dude straight up had Safandris' look. No joke.
That when you pointed that out, I couldn't unsee it. But Howard gets thrown down the bar. But at first you get the obligatory, hey, is that a talking duck? What the hell is that? Blah.
Right?
But it's, you know what, the way that they address Howard, it's not like they're seeing a talking alien duck. They address Howard like, hey, is that guy who used to be on that old sitcom? What are you doing here? Like, that's the way that they...
Yeah, it was very much like a recognition of like a former actor.
Yeah.
Or something.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's weird that I'm seeing you, but not absurd.
Right.
Like, that's how they address Howard.
There is not a single fucking talking duck on the planet Earth. Why the fuck are you not freaking the fuck out?
Right.
But then, of course, like Howard would walk through a crowd of people and they were like, oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah. People fainting and just all kinds of crazy shit. They didn't know how to properly utilize this character in any way. But long story short, Howard eventually gets the upper hand on these guys, and he's able to, give them the old 1-2 and what for, and he convinces the manager to give him all the money that aggressive negotiation tactics. Howard is able to get all the money from the manager that was given to the manager by the sleaze bag, and he also tells the manager to relinquish his position as manager over Beverly's band, and he agrees to do so. And then Howard meets up with Beverly and the band that evening, and Beverly, after knowing Howard for a day, we discover has told her bandmates all about Howard.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I would do the same. Like, if I had just met a fucking talking duck.
But you have to agree with me on this. They give the impression that it wasn't so much about, I met this talking duck, and more about, I met this guy, and then we had this fight.
It did give off the feeling. I was like, oh my God, my new boyfriend. It was very much that, yeah. It was so uncomfortable. And then she already gave him a pet name. Ducky.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
And so the bandmates, because they already knew about the talking duck, they didn't freak out at all.
Nope.
And then we get Filzy back, Tim Robbins' character.
Oh,
he brings the pizza. And by the way, they don't have pizza on Duck World,
which was so weird to me. Matter of fact, Howard starts speaking a little bit of like the way Americans use Spanish on occasion, like "hola" or something like
Tora. He says that.
Toro. Yeah, like so that implies that there are Spanish-speaking ducks on Duck World.
Yep,
but there's no fucking pizza.
There's no pizza. They have TV that is similar to ours. They have Play Duck, which is like Playboy.
Playboy. Yep.
Again, in this PG movie.
Yep.
They have beer that looks a whole lot like Budweiser.
It's probably like Quackweiser or something.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
There were so many quack puns.
So fucking
like quack foo.
Oh, yeah. Admittedly, that is also from the comic, so I can't give them.
Okay.
Yeah. But his use of quack foo, again, very spontaneous and sporadic. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he knew it, sometimes he didn't. Yeah. So on the way out of like the dressing room where the band and Howard and Filzy all meet up, Filzy takes a couple of Howard's tail feathers for research purposes.
That was such a weird scene.
It was very weird, yeah.
It's like, you're not going to take my feathers. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And also, Filzy, he gives off the impression that he's going to be like a villain.
Yeah, like I thought, like, Tim Robbins being like, this is obviously before he became a name, but like I just got the idea that maybe he was going to be the villain of the story.
Yeah, because it looks like he's obsessed with like getting rich and famous off of Howard. That's the impression.
That's what.
Yeah, that's the impression that he gives off. But no, we're about to find out real quick what's going on here. But now we have to talk about maybe
the worst scene in the entire fucking movie. I was like, part of me wishes we didn't have to talk about this. But homies, you have, for this scene alone, don't watch this movie.
Oh. It's bad.
It's so bad.
So Leah Thomas, they go back to her apartment, to Beverly's apartment, and, the actress, Leah Thomas, she comes walking out of the bathroom wearing
virtually nothing.
I mean, like the skimpiest underwear she has to own.
Mm-hmm. And like a half kimono thing.
Yeah, and she lays down in the bed and she says to Howard, "Come lay down and watch TV with me."
I would say David Letterman.
David Letterman, yeah. Come down, sit down, lay down and watch Letterman with me. And her underwear, and I said to I was like, I know this trick. Like, it's less of a trick and more of an invitation,
right?
And I'm like, they're not gonna do this.
No, please do not do this.
And so Howard goes and lays down in the bed next to her, and almost immediately shit gets heavy. And I'm like, they're not gonna do this, right?
And then this comes like, and you know, the uncomfortable part of it aside, even for the romance was inconsistent as well. Mm-hmm. Like, Howard was all flirty and shit.
Yeah. Now
and then when she starts to actually accept his flirt, then he becomes a little bitch about it.
Now he's a bitch about it. Yeah.
I'm like,
now you're afraid to smash him. Like, she's right there, bro, and you don't want to. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not like, homies. I had like, cause the uncomfortable part is there was a comment about a duck penis made earlier because of the uncomfortability already we felt for it, and so of course I had to Google because I've never seen one.
I described to you, like I said something about a duck penis and how weird it is, and you said, well, I gotta look that up.
Right, like, you gotta look the shit up. Like, I mean, it's like one of those things like you just have to see. So I did, and I'm over here like, now that I have this piece of information, and not only how strange it looks, but also the location of where it is on the duck. I'm over here like, if this is about to happen, that is going to be the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, obviously they're putting it out there, so our brains are thinking about it. Like, how is this going to work?
Right. And again, in this PG movie. Like, you have like a half-naked Leah Thompson straddling a duck, and the only saving grace is that Filzy comes in with Dr. Jennings, who is a very important character, so remember that name.
If that's what you want to call it.
So Filzy has taken these tail feathers of Howard, and they've been analyzed and whatnot, and he says it's a match. A match to what, you may ask? Well, this is where Dr. Jennings comes in and says we get more exposition. And at this point, it was so fucking dumb, I could not focus.
Dude, my brain, like, because it was the visual of because they decided not to do things. Like, it was Beverly, like, going to kiss Howard on his beak, like, where his lips, I guess, would be, but it was behind this silhouette, very Austin Powers, like, and I'm just like, they're really doing this?
I thought for sure we were going to see, like, a duck boner, like, the way the movie was going. I thought for sure.
Oh no!
You made like the great assessment while watching this movie. You were like, "This bitch will fuck anything." She tried to fuck her son and Back to the Future, and now she's trying to fuck a duck. Like, this bitch here.
I'm like, no judgment. You do you, boo.
You're a very pretty girl. You can find some regular dick to go get. You know,
you gotta fucking duck.
Yeah.
Like, And to be perfectly honest, I have to wonder what was going through her mind making this movie.
Right.
Because, like, she has gone on to do great roles and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like over here like...
The first Back to the Future was before this, right? That was 85.
Yeah, 85, yeah.
So I'm like, why?
Why?
That was like the movie of the year. You don't have to take this.
Yeah, like this movie, way below you.
Right.
I can only imagine what this actress was fucking thinking. Like, she acted it the best she possibly could with what she was doing.
The only thing I can think of would be like the people behind the scenes, like, oh, well, her manager probably said, "Do you know who's attached to this movie? George Lucas is an EP. Mm-hmm. You know, the two of the screenwriters for Temple of Doom are making this movie. You need to hop on this." No,
that's probably what happened.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. So then we get the explanation for how Howard got here. It's fucking dumb, and I don't.
So, from the basic understanding, even though I was like you, I was so fucked up with the potential sex scene between a duck and a woman, I couldn't fully follow what they were trying to say. Mm-hmm. But the gist, what I got was that this giant machine that they have created, not sure the exact purpose.
No, they turned the motherfucker on.
Apparently, it went a little haywire and focused in on Duck World and snatched his ass out.
But it specifically hit Howard and dragged his ass through.
Yep.
And that's how he got... So here's the other thing that doesn't make sense, though, okay? They said as soon as they turned it on, they found a feather, and then they compared it to Howard's feather, which they got later on. And I'm like, how the fuck did Howard's feather get to that lab?
Mm-hmm. So I also want to take a moment to walk you through that scientific process.
Please.
I honestly think that these scientists literally took Howard's feather and the one that came out of their machine and did side by side comparison, just looking at it.
Yep, that's the same duck.
The same duck. Like the way this movie was made, I would not be surprised.
You're probably right. That could have been any duck on Duck World.
I agree with you though. Like, I have no idea how his feather got to their lab,
but he landed somewhere completely different.
Like I think they said 2 miles away. I think I did hear that.
2
part.
miles. Yeah,
but still.
And so now, Howard with his blue duck balls and everything.
No, don't.
You know they realize, okay, well, Beverly, we have to say our goodbyes now because I can use this device that they built to put it in reverse. It's so dumb. I can put the device in reverse and go back home.
And I love the actual debate between like the assistant and Dr. Jennings of how like, no, we can't do that.
It won't work.
It won't work. Yes, it will if we do this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, I think you're just making words up.
Yeah, because so we just reviewed Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. You know how whenever they want to sound smart and sciencey, they just say quantum or the quantum mechanics or like the quantum realm and blah blah blah. Like they just put the word quantum in front of whatever it is to make it sound smart and sciencey.
Do you know anything about quantum physics?
Yep, they have it. And that's when they do the whole thing where they take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and they poke a hole through it. We've all seen it, okay?
That's how you get to the upside down.
Well, they did it to every pseudoscience space sci-fi movie has to do that scene. Surprisingly, they don't do it here in this movie.
I don't think it was invented yet.
Maybe not. What did Event Horizon do that? They may have been the first if they did do it. Anyways. But yeah, so now they're all taking this trip to go to this science facility where this device is that malfunctioned. The same device that pulled Howard through dimensions. They're gonna try to use it to send him back. Except when they get there,
this scene. Oh my god! This scene.
Ooh.
Oh, thinking back on this scene, it broke me.
like I think that we had been done, but at this moment we were just.
It was literally watching a car wreck. You just couldn't look away, but you really wanted to because it was really gory.
At this point, it was like seeing a car accidentally just plow into another car, and then another car plows into that one, and so forth and so.
It keeps going.
It just keeps going. That's what it was like at this point. We were just numb.
Like, so like this was at that point where we were like, this movie feels like it's about to wrap up. How much longer we got? Another fucking hour.
We still had a whole hour to go. Oh, okay. So we get this worker at this facility here who meets them at the security gate, right, inside the facility. And he's like half burned and traumatized, I guess. But they could have at least found a professional actor to do this scene because this guy had nothing.
Nothing.
He was just like, don't go in there. The device didn't work.
It malfunctioned.
And then he
collapses down to Howard to say that. And
then he stands up.
Like, it looked like he was about to pass out.
Yeah.
And then he just stands back up and walks out the fucking door.
Yeah. Like, I'm just going to clock out for the day.
I'm good, guys.
And
Y'all got this.
It just goes the fuck home. But yeah, the place is trashed and whatnot. And also something else they didn't explain, right? Dr. Jennings wasn't with them when they went to that facility. He had already beaten them there.
Which, it didn't make any fucking sense.
It didn't make any fucking sense because it was with them when they picked Howard up.
Maybe it was a deleted scene that we missed or something.
But
God forbid this movie was longer than it needed to be.
Oh, agreed. But somehow Dr. Jennings, he had gotten way ahead of them, made it back to the facility, and they turned the device on again.
Before he got there.
Before, yeah. But now they said that something happened to Dr. Jennings and they can't find him. They don't know where he is.
From the looks of the thing, it looked like it blasted him through a wall.
Right.
And we don't even see his body.
We don't have no idea where this man went to, but this is where they start to imply that something else came through. Okay. I'm like, all right. Now, common sense at this point in the movie would have you believe they got another duck from Duck World.
Sure. Duck from Duck World. Maybe a sinister duck.
A sinister duck, yeah.
I'm cool with a sinister duck.
I'll be cool with that too.
I mean, Darkwing Duck did it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. No. So long story short here, just to kind of speed through this thing, the cops show up, they try to arrest Howard. Howard and Beverly get away. During their escape, they find Dr. Jennings, who looks like he's been through some kind of ordeal, but he looks to be mostly okay, just shaken up. But they get inside of a vehicle and they're able to escape via another chase scene. And they escape to a Cajun sushi diner.
It was very odd.
It was. And this is really when the movie takes a weird fucking turn.
This is where Ghostbusters comes into play.
This is where Ghostbusters comes into play. This is where they took like a break in production, watched Ghostbusters.
It's like, this would be cool. Let's put it in our movie.
Yes. So, Dr. Jennings exposits entirely too much. I mean, this man, he's like, it's almost like what happened to Dr. Jennings is like when you read comic book panels and it tells you what's going on, but Dr. Jennings just says it.
Yeah.
He's like, my internal organs feel like they're being replaced and replicated, and there's something inside of me.
So we'll get you to the bathroom. Like, what?
Right. And so, long story short, Dr. Jennings, he says that he's dying and that there's something else inside of him and is evil. And then there's this other voice that comes out of him, like, talks like this. And this is where the snarling comes in. Nah. You hear that like another 100 times in the movie. That noise. Nah. That's the noise that you hear for the rest of the movie.
So I don't know the actor's name to save my life, but he's Principal Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller. Yes.
I love the guy to death. He dedicated himself to this role, even though he probably shouldn't have. But more power to him.
More power to him, I guess. And you know what? He did the best he could, I guess.
Yeah.
But my gosh, this was rough. And this diner scene felt like it lasted forever.
Oh my god! It was the. Like, honestly, every scene lasted way too fucking long.
Yeah.
Like, we could have done like half of all of this.
It's like this movie didn't have the budget for an editor. And so they couldn't.
Right? Oh my god. That is the most accurate way to put that. Yeah, it does feel that way.
So all of the scenes just go on forever. And this diner scene, I mean, my gosh.
I feel it drug way more than it should have.
It did. And you get the impression that they wanted this diner scene to feel like, oh man, this is the epic scene in the movie.
Maybe they were thinking of like the Superman diner scene.
Yeah, right.
And they needed that in this movie because it's a superhero movie.
That came out in the 80s. That Superman Returns, yeah. Or I mean Superman 2, yeah.
Yeah, Superman 2, yeah.
But no, that's not what happened here. So, what happens here in the Cajun Sushi Diner? You wonder? Well, we'll tell you what happens. The waitress thinks that Howard is a kid in a costume, and you have Dr. Jennings, who is acting like an evil, sinister, fucking ancient being,
who's sweating quite a bit,
profusely. And then you have Beverly, who is flirting with presumably her child in the duck costume. Okay, so very weird scenario.
Of course. And then orders the child a beer.
Orders 3 beers, and the waitress doesn't bat a fucking eye. I'm like, okay, all right. And then we get the scene where roughnecks come up and harass Howard. This has happened like at least 3 other times in this movie already, so it doesn't even mean anything now.
Yep.
And then Howard, fights him back or whatever, and then we get this whole scene.
It was almost like a chase scene through the diner.
Through the diner, very
much Back to the Future. I think I even mentioned that as well.
Did.
Like it was very much like the Biff scene in Back to the Future, where like he's like, "Get your meat hook off," okay, and then this whole weird chase scene thing happens in the middle of the diner. And he doesn't get away.
Yeah, they catch him, tie him down. But the MacGuffin of the movie is this code key, what they call it. It's a device that they can use to activate the satellite thing that brought
the. So we just kind of glossed over this a little bit. The Dr. Jennings is now possessed by the Dark Overlord of the universe.
Yes, one of them. There's several.
Yeah, there are several. So that is what's going on in this Dark Overlord of the universe, because they had to say it all the way, every time, has this key code that gets it to that calibrates the machine to lock in on his world.
And he can just press the button, activate it, and send his companions through. The only issue is that they need to have a human host for some reason.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. But yeah. So one of the Roughnecks took the code key, because Howard had it at some point, I guess, and the entire diner now at this point has like taken part of capturing Howard, tying him down. They're about to fucking kill him and eat him.
Like, yeah, they're about to chop him up with a meat cleaver.
Yeah. And the only thing that saves them is Howard says, "Dr. Jennings, they have the code key."
We are forgetting a very cringe moment. We've talked about all the other cringe moments. Had to talk about this one. It's where Beverly yells at the mob that is crowd surfing Howard. "He is my boyfriend."
Oh, yeah. That one, that hurt.
Oh, God. And everybody stops and turns and goes, "Ew."
Yeah.
Or "That's disgusting," or something of that nature. And I'm just like...
And by the way, this is the first time in this movie where they've actually addressed that it is fucking weird. This is the first and only time where they addressed it as goddamn weird for this woman to be in love with this duck alien. But anyways,
I'm processing.
By the way, they were taking their sweet time with killing Howard. The guy had the butcher like in the upright position for like a whole fucking minute, and then Dr. Jennings is like, give me the key code."
Which is what actually triggered him to help Howard, which is weird, the fact that we got him to help Howard.
Right. Like, they didn't know what to do with this character or this scene. And so he uses his stop-motion Ghostbusters laser beam powers.
Oh, yeah. Like, and then his Zool voice at the same time.
And using his Zool voice, yep.
And, of course, his face starts to sink in a little bit. Mm-hmm. He does a lot of telekinesis, which... Honestly, there was some decent moments with the telekinesis.
Yeah, for 86, not
86, not terrible. But it was still just, why?
Right.
Like, at one point, I think he used, like, laser eyes to blow up the ketchup and mustard bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Which made no fucking sense.
I'm like, what purpose did that serve?
My powers are growing.
Yeah, my powers are growing. Yeah, snarl, snarl. and so, what does he do after this? Oh, well, he does the obvious thing, of course, and he kidnaps Beverly.
Not forgetting, he beat up Howard with his telekinesis and dropped them on a table.
That he did. And so he got Dr. Jennings, or the evil thing possessing Dr. Jennings, got the code key, kidnaps Beverly, and at least they explain it somewhat. He says, "My compatriots need a human host." But also we know he was bringing through at least 2 other dark beings, but he only had one human host.
Yeah, only one.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep. But then we get this really creepy scene.
Oh, the tongue.
Penis.
Oh, okay.
The duck penis.
Yes,
coming out of his mouth.
Coming out of his mouth. That's what it looked like, right?
Now that I know what one looks like,
yeah.
Yes, it is a duck penis that extends from his mouth as he's like, "I need more power," and like he takes the car lighter out of the semi truck that he stole, that he miraculously knows how to drive,
and got the keys to,
right? And like it very much like some hentai tentacle porn. Pulls this thing, like this thing just comes floating out of his face and stabs into the cigarette lighter hole, and like now he's funneling electricity into him.
Yes, giving him more power. Thankfully, they didn't drain the fucking battery. Because you think
that's a strong alternator that's keeping it going, man.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. And then this movie just drags so long.
Dude, like...
So, okay. Before we get to the to the last chase scene of the movie, because there's another one. Before we get there, we have to talk about the detour that Dr. Jennings takes with Beverly.
And this is, yep.
And this is the scene where he ties up Beverly in some of the worst knots imaginable, and he puts her in the back of the semi.
And keep in mind, this was right after we just saw the duck penis come out of his face. So we're over here thinking, like, maybe he's into bondage.
Maybe, yeah. That's his thing. That's his kink.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
You boo, I guess.
And this is the part where he goes into a nuclear reactor facility as a visitor, because they just let visitors
Very
in.
Simpsons, by the way.
Very much Simpsons, yeah. You get the vibe that Homer Simpson is working there somewhere.
Right, pushing buttons that he shouldn't be pushing.
And he just uses his powers to access, like, the very poorly guarded, like, nuclear reactor center.
And at this moment is when we get the hero fanfare.
Right.
And I'm like, this is fucking hero music, bro. Like, And he just, like, as he walks into this room full of light and holds up his arms.
Right. Almost like Jesus pose, like I have risen.
I have risen.
And there's this bright light that he's embracing, and there's this hero music playing. I'm like, what in the fuck is going on here?
Maybe that was their poor attempt at satire?
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe. But it didn't land.
No, it didn't.
And then you know what happens? He fucking leaves. And they
makes a door through the wall.
And they continue with their journey. So again, we didn't need the scene.
We didn't need this scene.
We didn't need to see him get more power. because we just didn't need it. It didn't serve any purpose. And so
we didn't need the duck penis scene either.
We didn't need that scene either. Definitely not. And so speaking of scenes that go on way too long, we get I think if I timed it correctly, it's about a 10-minute long chase sequence.
I will take the pod racing scene from episode 1 3 times over this fucking chase scene.
Oh my goodness. You could tell this movie was proud of this chase sequence. They were
For
proud.
one, they used a device, a vehicle that has not been popular since this time period.
Which, oh, by the way, it just happened to be there, right?
Oh yeah, it just happened to be at the outside of this fucking diner.
Right.
A paraglider.
Like a
paraplane.
Paraplane,
yeah.
And it's Filzy and Howard who are riding in this thing. And of course, Howard is the one driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Howard's driving in he has a fucking flaming helmet. Mm-hmm. A flame helmet. Like straight up biker flame helmet.
Right. And this scene goes on forever.
It chases through some small town.
Yeah.
Some like over a massive lake.
Yeah.
Under a bridge.
Uh-huh. And like the movie's just so impressed with itself. But I'm like, can we please just we could have wrapped this movie up half an hour ago.
We could have. We totally could have.
We absolutely
And of course, disaster happens.
The fuel line comes unplugged.
Well, there's something wrong with it. Phil's over here like, there's something wrong. Everything is shot. And it was like, we're not going anywhere, Philzy. You're going to fix this plane.
And I'm like, what? Because like Philzy's, what he said was the fuel line is like shot and the rudder is broken.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, you guys are fucked then.
Yeah, like there's no way to fix that. Like, no, not in the air.
But
not with untrained motherfuckers doing it.
Right. In mid-flight. But what does Philzy do? Oh, well, the problem is just like this one tube came undone. All I do is plug it back in.
At one point, I think he cut it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
And then he just plugs it back in. And it's working.
Fixes the issue.
But at this point, though, because it's working now, it flies faster.
Oh, yeah.
And it almost knocks Philzy off.
Yeah. Almost knocks him off.
He's dangling upside down on a fucking paraplane.
Being flown by an alien duck.
For those of you who do not know what a paraplane actually is, it is basically a paraglider attached to a go-kart.
Yeah, that's a very apt description.
And that is it.
Mm-hmm. And they are eluding these cop cars like it's just the most high-speed chase ever. It reminds me of the scene in South Park when Cartman is on like the tricycle and the cops are behind them and they're wrecking. They can't catch them.
Oh, I definitely made comments of this. Like there were so many times where they almost ran into something right in front of them and narrowly floated over it.
Oh yeah.
And then the cops behind them slammed into the fucking vehicle or building or obstruction. Every time. It's happened like 5 times.
Right. Oh, and we never mentioned that like the head detective that's over the case at the science facility place, he just has a murder boner for Howard. I mean, and even at one point he goes, "Bring me that duck, dead or alive." And I'm like, but why?
I've actually seen that actor, and I want to say it is... I think it's in either Law and Order or one of those cop shows. Nothing like this character. He's actually a decent actor. He's really good at it. And like, I don't know what the fuck. He didn't have any hair like now though. Like his long luxurious hair.
That hair was also distracting that he had.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I think he was starting to go bald.
It was starting to be a little Hulk Hogan-ish.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But like he had the flowy locks in this movie, but like he's an actor that plays in a lot of those cop shows. Like so, I've seen him before. It took me a minute because he's slimmer and has hair.
All right,
but I'm over here like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I respected you, man. Honestly, I say that about pretty much everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I respected you.
Right.
How did you make this fucking movie?
So, long story short, Howard and Filzy, they are able to navigate their way back to the science facility where possessed Dr. Jennings and Beverly are. And when Filzy and Howard enter, Oz called this from a mile away what the solution was. What was the solution, Oz, to stop Dr. Jennings?
I'm sorry. Oh, God. Oh, just all of this. Oh. This big fucking gun.
BFG, folks. BFG, a big fucking gun. That's how you stop Dr. Jennings. Hey, that's how you stop almost anything, all right?
A big fucking
a big
gun.
fucking gun. And so this is when Howard uses quack fu to kick open a fucking door, like a big-ass metal door.
Yeah, like a set of double doors.
Yeah.
He kicks the shit out of them and they fly right the fuck open. But can't get past a locked door.
Nope.
Like with a padlock on it. Like
Nope.
it required Filzy with a set of bolt cutters.
Yep.
He doesn't use them the way intended. He instead uses them as a hammer and smashes it open.
And then they're able to keep this BFG who Filzy says something about what the military didn't want to pay to use this kind of technology or blah blah blah.
It's something along those bullshit lines.
I'm like,
but
so,
it really, honest to God, and this is another source of inspiration for them. This gun reminded me of the shrink ray for how Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It reminds me very much of that.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. Yeah.
It looks very much like that.
It does. Yeah, it really does. And so they attach this gun to like this kind of
like golf cart.
Yeah, golf cart thing, like one of those carts you use to get around like a big facility.
Yeah, it makes no sense why they have that. Like very Austin Powers, like how that. Very much like that.
Very much. And they attach the BFG to that, and so their goal is to drive up and shoot Jennings with it. And to stop him from summoning his cohorts down to Earth, because their goal is to destroy the Earth, because of course it is.
Because they're the dark overlords of the universe.
Listen, when you refer to yourself as the dark overlord of the universe,
you have to destroy everything, okay?
All right.
Come on, man. Get with the program. This is what we do.
Holy shit. Okay.
We kind of glossed over like after Dr. Jennings got his supercharge from that radioactive. He very much had a Rick Sanchez vibe to him.
He did,
like with his spiked up like fro hair. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, he was looking like pure ass. He was not looking good here. He was
But by the time we actually get to see Dr. Jennings in this scene, when they finally burst in, he's kind of hunched over with like these spikes coming out of his back.
Yeah, think of like a stegosaurus. Like that's kind of what's going on with his back.
Yeah, like I mean, he's starting to look more like a creature. Which know, at the time, honestly, I didn't hate I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Like at least they were starting to make it look like something that like would cause some he's not just some crazy old scientist with a thing possessing him.
Because for the longest time, like I thought the movie was going to do a cop out because earlier he says something like, "My true form would be too disturbing for the human eyes."
Yes.
And so I thought
the reason why they need hosts,
right?
Oh my god,
yeah.
Motherfucker, if you are the dark overlords of the universe,
why would you give a fuck?
Why would you give a fuck about the way you were presented?
Okay, and so now, of course, there's an activation sequence, to open up the thing or the portal or whatever. But Howard and Filzy get there just in time to save Beverly and then to stop Dr. Jennings, and.
Not before a massive amount of Dr. Jennings using his proton blaster out of his hands.
Howard uses his own, proton pack from the BFG.
Yeah.
And so that's what it looks like. It looks like Crossing the Beams and Ghostbusters.
Oh, it was very much like straight rip from the Ghostbusters.
It was. And there's a big explosion as the two beams meet each other. And Howard's okay. Dr. Jennings is actually okay again. He looks like he's back to normal. And he says, the thing is not in me, but it's still here somewhere. And no one saw
this monstrous fucking beast get away.
And this thing...
And hide.
This thing has like a stealth modifier of plus 35 because like no one knew where this motherfucker went to. And to the point where I was like, maybe, is it a ghost?
Like, right? Like, ghost, at this point, why the fuck not?
Because it possesses people or something. And yeah, it's like a ghost.
I think they even referred to themselves as demons at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no. He was just hiding underneath the staircase.
Like underneath this little like walkway. And like, and then you hear, like, as they're freeing Beverly, all of a sudden you hear this rumbling. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, are they fucking for real? Like with this shit? And it comes bursting out in the worst CGI,
stop motion
animation I've ever seen.
I mean, even for 86, this is bad.
It was like a mixture between a centipede, scorpion.
Like a centipede scorpion mixed with like a death claw from Fallout.
I can give that, and like maybe even a little bit like fused with the vampires from Blade, the ones that open their face up a little bit.
And it does have like two heads, like two faces, like one technically on his back.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah, then it stands up, and then there's the main face,
right, which is the only one that they really even utilize. Yeah. So why have two faces?
I don't know. And so now they have to contend with this monstrosity. And I want to pause right here, guys. Go back to the very beginning of this movie. How the fuck did we get here?
And again, like we said, the first 5 minutes of the first like minute and a half of the movie is like very much this like private eye feel,
detective noir style,
very detective noir, or like even if you wanted to go the more comedy route, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, very much like that. Like,
I would have loved that,
right? I would have definitely loved that. And then we're here with this 30-foot fucking monstrosity. Sorry. Dark Overlord of the universe.
Of the Dark Dimension.
Yep. Of the Dark Dimension. This fucking thing. And, like, how is it not eating them right now? Because up until this point, you never get the feeling that Howard, Beverly, or even Filzy are intelligent at all.
Like, they're all morons.
Very much so. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, but worse.
Way, because at least Guardians of the Galaxy have skill sets.
Right, they have skill sets. Yeah, like these three don't.
They have nothing of the sort. And so what ends up happening is that Howard uses the BFG again, and he's able to
while the Overlord is like,
what was he doing to Beverly and Filzy?
I don't fucking know. He hit him with a beam, and they started like shimmering with colors and lights and stuff, and then they were screaming out. But like, so I was assuming they were just being put in pain.
But they also couldn't move.
They couldn't move, and like, were they vanishing?
It looks like they were vanishing, but why? Because if your whole plan is to bring your homeboys through, and they needed bodies, why the fuck? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you get rid of the shit that you said you needed? You said you need a human host, and now I don't. So if you're just putting them in stasis so that they don't move, I will give that a pass.
Sure, that was not what he was doing.
That was not what he was doing. Anyway,
then Howard uses the big ass fucking gun and blows this thing just like to stardust.
Yep.
Very much like 80s explosion,
right?
Bad guy stuff. So there's no remains left over, And then he proceeds to use it on. Doesn't he use the gun on the
on the satellite thing or whatever? Yeah,
and it explodes. But while we get this visual though of three of these fucking dark overlords of the universe.
They all look exactly the same, by the way.
Exactly the same, and they're coming straight through this portal that Howard went through before. And I'm over here like, well, based on the logic that this movie has already given us, that pieces of them are already coming because, like, we got Howard's feather in this lab, and he landed 2 miles away.
Right.
Just blowing this thing up isn't going to do it.
Yeah, because they're already on the way here because of the portal.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so technically they may not land. It just means that they didn't land in Cleveland, but they landed somewhere. By this movie's logic, they are on Earth wreaking havoc. Yes. Earth is done.
Earth is done, son. We have dark overlords of the universe fucking our planet up. Yeah. That's what's going on right now. Sorry, Ohio.
Yep. Okay, so for all they know, they saved the day. Everything is good and great in the world. And then we get the scene at the end where her band, Beverly's band, is playing like this big venue. And they're singing,
screaming fans.
They're singing the song that I believe was that the song we played at the beginning of the pod. Yep, they are playing that song, a tribute to Howard the Duck.
His name is Howard the Duck.
Yep. And then because of shenanigans, Howard accidentally winds up on stage, and they hand him a guitar.
All right. So I pointed this shit out, and it bugged the piss out of me. And like, we've made so many references to other '80s movies in this movie that they probably took or straight ripped from, especially since Beverly's the actress who plays Beverly played in this movie. It was a straight up Back to the Future ripoff of Johnny Be Good at the 1955 dance. Howard is wearing very much a similar blazer, tie, and the guitar is red.
I'm surprised he wasn't playing Go Johnny Go.
Right? Exactly.
They probably just didn't have the rights to it.
Exactly. And so, like, he even starts doing everything. Yep. Like, he does he jumps off of stuff. He fucking does the Jimi Hendrix, and he does the power slide. And I'm like,
straight up Marty McFly.
I can't fucking do this, man. Like, I thought this movie was done disappointing me, and it hit it even harder at the end. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
And that's how the movie ends, folks. That is Howard the Duck. Congratulations. You guys now know the movie without ever having to put eyes upon it. The shit that we go through just for your entertainment. Oz hates me now. We're not friends anymore because I made him watch this movie.
Nope, I'm killing his D&D character next session.
Shit. You see what we do for you? How much we sacrifice? This movie has been an experience, man.
Bro, like, I had to step outside for fresh air.
Yeah, he did.
Like,
and you know what? God. Spoiler alert for my score on Ant-Man 3, but I'll just say this. I have to change my score now because what I just saw makes Ant-Man 3 look like goddamn Terminator 2.
I can see. Like, yeah. I think I even made this same joke. This movie actually made me like Green Lantern again. Yeah, right. Which, by the way, we didn't. I didn't touch on that. I made this reference quite often with Dr. Jennings. He gave off serious Hector Hammond vibes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Take away like the actual acting capabilities, and like the
actual story of how he became Hector Hammond, the crazed. Yeah, it's very much like that, but bad.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Howard the Duck. So does Howard the Duck go home? No. Do they bother answering any questions about Howard, his home world, the dark dimension? No. Do they address any of the issues or themes from the comic books? The reason why people like Howard the Duck comic books in the first place, the existentialism, the slight nihilism, or the social commentary. Do they address any of that? No. What they do is they make a bad comedy movie about a duck from outer space.
I will give them one thing.
Okay, let me hear it.
You and I both, this got us. It was during the scene where Dr. Jennings had Beverly attached to the machine.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And Howard and Filzy come barging in with the big fucking gun. And at some point, Beverly goes, Howard, you have to stop him. And Dr. Jennings turns to her and goes,
there was one actual genuine laugh in this movie.
He goes, shut up.
Always, you got it. You have to see it.
It was just the moment and how bad everything has been up until this point.
It broke us.
I think we were already primed. We were just like, fuck it.
Shut up. And it was so simple, but it got us, and it got us good.
It did so bad.
Holy shit, man, this movie. So, as it is with basically all really bad movies, it has a cult following.
It does.
And here's the thing. I'm not mad at cult followings, people who like bad movies. My only thing is this. It is completely okay for movies like Howard the Duck to have this cult following. All I ask is that you be sensible and reasonable and at least admit that this is a god-awful movie. And maybe that's why you like it.
And it is okay to like horrible movies. 100%.
It's superhero homies rule number 10. Love what you love.
Exactly. I am like the epitome of that.
Yeah. Yes, you are. And that's why I invited you on, because I was like, out of all the friends I could have on this podcast who would watch this movie with me, Oz is the most likely to find joy. So the fact that Oz hates this movie speaks volumes. If I hated it, or Kevin or Caleb hates it, or Joe hates it, that's kind of par for the course. But the fact that Oz admits that this is a terrible movie, that should be enough.
Yeah. It's very bad. Like, I'm almost in tears.
Yes. And also think about it like this. We watched the movie, and then for the past 2 hours, we just had to relive it.
I know. Like, honestly, the cold open helped me recenter.
Uh-huh.
And then you fucked me up by talking about it again.
Well, I think that we've lived in Duck World long enough, and it is time now for us to...
I think the movie would have been better if it was in Duck World.
It would have been. But that would have been way more money, because everyone would have to be...
ducks.
Yeah. Also, we do have to address one more criticism that the movie received that we actually did not talk about. And that is the fact that just like Chucky in the first Child's Play movie, Howard the Duck's size alters depending on who's in the fucking suit.
I did not know that. Oh
yes.
My god! Because that was the thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember at one point we paused it and like we noticed that there were like
seven people.
7 people that are responsible for Howard the Duck being a character.
Yeah.
Like we had 2 body actors.
At least. Yeah.
I think maybe 2 puppeteers for the face.
Right.
And the voice
actor. Yep.
So I'm just like, that's ridiculous.
It's so much. Yeah. It is, yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot. But yeah, homies, that's Howard the Duck. And the good news is that just like with most bad movies, while the movie may have been ass, the review has been so much fun.
Oh my god, yeah. I will say that my discomfort has made some great radio, I think.
Yes, it has.
Some great podcasting. Oh.
I've had a blast with you, brother.
Dude,
reviewing this movie.
I can't remember how many times I looked over to you as like, don't ever ask me to do this.
And I can feel your eyes burrowing into the side of my head, and I'm like, I can't look at Oz right now. It'll break me. If I look at him right now, it will break me. Just the sheer disdain I could feel coming from you. I couldn't do it. Could not do it. So yeah, homies, we're gonna go ahead and go now. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to regain Oz's trust. But in the meantime, homies, be sure to check out Tavern Notice Board if you have not done so already. It is a fantastic and refreshing D&D podcast. I can definitely promise you that. One that you guys have not seen the likes of before. I am even on an episode of that as well.
Yes, you are.
Yes. And I look forward to being on there again in the future. And
indeed, sir. Indeed.
And I know you have more episodes coming up soon. We already talked about the D&D movie episode in late March. You wrapping up that Legends of Vox Machina, and you resuming your the normal podcasting format for your show with the homie Dylan coming on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So looking forward to all that. So guys, be sure to check that out. But I think that's enough of Howard the Duck for now. And so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up here. But Oz, brother, thank you again for being on. This has truly been a blast.
The podcast, yes. I agree with you. My trust is shaken. So.
I get it. And the bad thing is, there's a high probability that you're going to dream about this movie tonight.
Oh, don't.
So, homies, that's going to be all for now. But thank you guys again for listening in. We will see you guys again soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I am Superhero Homie Oz.